It's two things, right? So
and it's
there's
actually not that
so
long
there's,
ago.
there's most of the bad stuff that's out there, which is configure and so on, and there are hundreds of new variants each day. So there's that kind of massive stuff that is noisy and is most of the activity that's out there that you absolutely need to protect against, because otherwise you're going to get it. But then there's also, it's kind of like it's like Prada versus Payless, so that's kind of Payless, right? And then there's the stuff that hit TJX and Heartland, which is designer. It maybe is written to look for the specific data that's on your network, written for your network. And the chances that semantic enterprise protection is going to spot that, given that it's custom design code, is basically zero. So what do you do about that? I mean, clearly, yeah.
Let me tell you a story that'll terrify you that happened not too far from where we're sitting right now.
Go ahead,
Someone deliberately wanted data from a financial institution here in Boston, and they were going specifically after that institution.
Right.
So they came up with a genius idea. They wrote a special virus that would just upload the data from any computer it was installed on, or from any memory stick that it was installed on, to some server in Russia or Eastern Romania or wherever that's not important. So they put this on about 50 or 60 USB sticks, very nice, very high quality looking USB sticks. Just kind of left them scattered around on the street here in Boston. Mm-hmm. Sure enough, a bunch of people picked them up, took them into the office, started putting data on it. Mm-hmm. There you go. Right. and that's not very sophisticated.
We do
compared
that
to a
with
lot of
social
things.
engineering, because that's part of what we do too. We absolutely, that's a beautiful thing.
It's amazing what people will put on. It's like, oh, hey, look at that. USB
It's
stick.
great.
I mean, I think the lesson is, first of all, that that just because you're compliant doesn't mean that you're secure, right? So clearly, being PCI compliant and passing your audit doesn't necessarily mean there's not bad stuff on your network, and that could really hurt your company financially.
Well, Best Western is a great example of that. I mean, they were compliant, and then a month later, they was 1 million or 2 million credit cards?
Something like that.
You should like just talk about how high you want to set the bar.
Right.
And you want to get it to as high as basically your production environments.
Right.
Okay.
And PCI or compliance is kind of that's table stakes. So yes, that's you setting kind of the minimum threshold that you need to operate your business in essence. But how far above that do you want to go? And in terms of the, I mean, I think that one of the things that the TJX and that hack illustrate is that again, that the existing kind of protections that people are using are obviously not designed to catch that type of threat, and that really you need to move from kind of you need more security intelligence. So you need better tools to kind of correlate data from different products to help understand what might be very low level data flows or activity that pulled together add up to something. And maybe that ultimately you just need better data protection, that you're never going to be able to prevent Trojans or rootkits from getting onto your network, so you just need to make sure that your data is secure.
Yeah, the cultural shifts are great, but it's gotten to the point where the guy who's the AVP of Human Resources, he knows what to do and what not to do, and probably most of his full-time employees. It's the 19-year-old girl who's a temp secretary just for the day. That's your problem.
Right.
So she has no idea, no concept, and you're not going to be able to teach her. It's a day.
Right.
So cultural is great, but you can't count on that. At the end of the day, you have to depend on your software.
I think one of the things you see is that technology is great. Everybody wants to move forward and get the benefits, and a lot of times you leave. I mean, security is one of those things you just forget about, right? I mean, yeah, you can go to the cloud, you can do all this stuff, but now you can't lock your server down in a room and disconnect it. You have no physical control over that data. So you've given up something. You've gotten something, but you've given up something. And it's, it's kind of what you saw with early PC Windows, right? The whole philosophy there was to make it easy to use. So all the different programs, they worked with each other, which was great. Right. And then all the viruses basically exploited that.
Macros, cool.
Yeah. That was the first thing they went after.
Right.
And it's, I think what we're seeing now with the technologies and the cloud stuff, you can get some benefits from this stuff, and people get fixated on all those. I can share data with anybody all over the place.
Yes,
no problem. But the security aspects, they haven't really changed.
Right.
What data is, secure, sensitive data is sensitive data, no matter where you do it. And you still, the tools have to change, obviously.
Right.
If you go with new technologies, you'll need probably new tools.
Right.
there's massive risk anytime the data leaves your site. I mean, even if it's a lockdown, secure, trusted data center, something like happened to Netflix about a year or so ago. The disgruntled data center employee gets laid off.
Yep.
They forgot to shop his access card. He gets drunk at lunch, comes back in the folding chair, starts wailing on the servers, and takes down Netflix for a day because he crushed all their servers. He could just easily started pulling hard drives and walked up the door from them.
Yeah, we've had situations when, customers, they do all the security stuff and somebody comes in and walks out with the server.
Yeah.
It's like, they never thought of that. It's like,
But then and you have like the creeping identity too.
Yeah.
I mean, where you start out as in a position and you have access control rights, and then you move to the next position, and it all keeps going with you. And so, all of a sudden you were in IT and now you're in sales, and you still have access to all the servers.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
That's huge. We find that a lot.
Right.